The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Mr. George W. Bush, President of the United States of America. I request the Chief of Protocol to escort His Excellency.
If we were to read the names of every person who died, it would take more than 3 hours. Those names include a citizen of Gambia whose wife spent their 4th wedding anniversary, September the 12th, searching in vain for her husband. Those names include a man who supported his wife in Mexico, sending home money every week. Those names include a young Pakistani who prayed toward Mecca 5 times a day and died that day trying to save others. The suffering of September the 11th was inflicted on people of many faiths and many nations. All of the victims, including Muslims, were killed with equal indifference and equal satisfaction by the terrorist leaders. Time is passing. Yet for the United States of America, there will be no forgetting September the 11th. We will remember every rescuer who died in honor. We will remember every family that lives in grief. We will remember the fire and ash, the last phone calls, the funerals of the children. And the people of my country will remember those who have plotted against us. Every nation has a stake in this cause. As we meet, the terrorists are planning more murder, perhaps in my country, or perhaps in yours. They kill because they aspire to dominate. They seek to overthrow governments and destabilize entire regions. The conspiracies of terror are being answered by an expanding global coalition. Not every nation will be a part of every action against the enemy, but every nation in our coalition has duties. These duties can be demanding, as we in America are learning. We have already made adjustments in our laws and in our daily lives. We're taking new measures to investigate terror and to protect against threats. After tragedy, there is a time for sympathy and condolence. And my country has been very grateful for both. The memorials and vigils around the world will not be forgotten. But the time for sympathy has now passed. The time for action has now arrived. The most basic obligations in this new conflict have already been defined by the United Nations. On September the 28th, the Security Council adopted Resolution 1373. Its requirements are clear. Every United Nations member has a responsibility to crack down on terrorist financing. We must pass all necessary laws in our own countries to allow the confiscation of terrorist assets. We must apply those laws to every financial institution in every nation. We have a responsibility to share intelligence and coordinate the efforts of law enforcement. If you know something, tell us. If we know something, we'll tell you. And when we find the terrorists, we must work together to bring them to justice. We have a responsibility to deny any sanctuary, safe haven, or transit to terrorists. Every known terrorist camp must be shut down, its operators apprehended, and evidence of their arrest presented to the United Nations. We have a responsibility to deny weapons to terrorists and to actively prevent private citizens from providing them. We must speak the truth about terror. Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
We begin tonight with federal authorities now revealing what they say was a plot to kill Donald Trump. A man driving across state lines, showing up at a rally in Las Vegas, and reaching for an officer's gun. ABC News obtaining a federal complaint. Authorities say that man told the officer he was there to get Trump's autograph, and that's when he tried to get the gun. ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas leading us off.
As the Donald Trump rally got underway this weekend at the Treasure Island Hotel and Casino, a young man approached a police officer stationed at the event and asked for an autograph. Then, without warning, the man went for the officer's gun, trying to take it away, only to be quickly subdued. Authorities now say that Michael Sanford, 19, allegedly told the Secret Service that this was an attempt to kill Trump. A complaint obtained by ABC News claims Sanford, who has a British driver's license, had been planning to assassinate Trump for about a year. He allegedly told the Secret Service he had driven from California to Las Vegas on June 16th to kill Trump after seeing news reports that the candidate would be there. A day later, he went to a Vegas gun range to learn how to shoot. It's the latest security scare involving Trump, who also had a man try to rush the stage of an Ohio rally in March.
tracking the latest on a shooting outside the White House. Late today, the news broke on live television just in the last hour and a half. Just as the U.S. president was giving a briefing to media, he was abruptly escorted by a Secret Service agent out of the briefing room. Take a look.
New record in NASDAQ and the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones are going to be, I mean, the way they're going, it looks like they're just about going to be topping records, hopefully soon. Excuse me?
Alexa, is our government performing Hegelian dialectic?
Here's something I found on the web. According to hubpages.com, today, the mainstream media does not have to tell the truth, and politicians can use them to create state propaganda and use Hegelian dialectic to achieve their goals.
Army, okay, as a soldier and as a general, as a retired general, we have an army of digital soldiers. What we are now, what I call them, because this was an insurgency, folks. This was run like an insurgency. This was irregular warfare at its finest in politics, and that story will continue to be told here. But we have what we call citizen journalists. Because the journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented. And so the American people decided to take over the idea of information. They took over the idea of information, and they did it through social media.
Definitely, my life for 20 years, part of it anyways, would have been a whole lot easier. It wasn't easy to receive this. It wasn't easy to sit on it for the amount of time that I've had to sit on it. My credibility has come into question many, many times because of, well, if this is so powerful, why didn't you share it? Well, I firmly believe that if I would have shared this publicly when I got this, one, nobody would believe me, because there was no credibility established in my ministry, and two, it would have probably destroyed me because I didn't possess the character of Christ needful to really walk out something like this and understand what all entails with a revelation like this. Paul talked about revelations coming and bringing trials, and so I know that I really wasn't ready for this. The events are difficult to describe because lawlessness and fear was permeating society completely. After about 2 weeks of time, television and radio began to be back up and running. However, it was completely different than what was previously being broadcast. The broadcasts were being bombarded nearly everywhere, and they were depicting a soon-to-come new government and leadership. You have to understand, the whole world was experiencing this despair and this this chaos that was permeating society. No one, by the way, was isolated from this. No one was hidden from this. This was engulfing the whole globe. I asked him if he knew what was going on in the world, and this is exactly what he said to me. He told me that the end was coming upon us and that he had not prepared for the times of the Lord. This was very unusual. This destruction was global. It reached the whole globe, folks. One thing that was happening is that you could not cross state lines at this time without papers. You had to have current papers to cross state lines. That was very, very strange to me. I don't think I would have ever believed that our country would become a place where you can't cross border to border without papers, approved papers. But I saw it, and it was astounding to me. This new leader began to be on television again, and he was not resisted in the implementation of any of his policies. Not one. No one stood up to challenge him. No one in America started a revolution. No one. There was no resistance whatsoever. Not on a grassroots level, not on a national level, no one. If you start telling them end-time things like this, they label you as a doomsday fanatical nutcase. You know, what are you one of those guys that are going to tell us that the end's going to come upon us and we're not going to get snatched out of here or get out of here without a little bit of problem. You know, just read your Bible. God didn't take Noah out of the earth. He put an ark around him. God delivered Lot from Sodom but still destroyed the place. He didn't take him into the clouds. Jesus said so many times himself, even in the high priestly prayer, he said that, hey, listen, Father, I pray that they might be one as we're one. But Father, I pray that you take them not out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. You know, he's the one who said, he who endures to the end shall be saved. Where were the ideals of our founding fathers? How could this happen in America? You know, I've heard of a lot of other nations having coup attempts and governments overthrown, but it was usually through war. There was not even a bullet fired.
You guys know what this represents?
Fellowship.
I don't remember. It's the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.